Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to see West Ham concede 5 goals away from home twice in the build-up to Christmas. Whee! Oh dear, oh dear. A drubbing at Liverpool in the Carabao Cup, 5-1, after the drubbing, of course, at Fulham. Me and James didn't do a podcast early this week, so we had another game in such quick succession. And with Christmas coming up, we thought we'd just do one hit here to carry you through. And how annoying and what a bad decision that was, because we might have had a chance to actually be positive about the club before crashing out of the Carabao Cup quarterfinals 5-1 at Liverpool. As always, I think you know what to expect by now. It obviously was. I don't think it was good to lose 5-1 at Liverpool. I don't think it was a great performance, but I also don't think it's the most embarrassing way to go out of a competition. The scoreline, yes, but losing to Liverpool away, not so much. I am going to invite my friend, James Jones, in. Jonesy, Merry Christmas, 21st of December. For anyone asking, a few people getting in touch saying, where's the pod? It was all a bit rushed after the game, trying to get someone sorted out for Liverpool. So we figured we'd just do one afterwards. How are you feeling? I'm not doing the same as we've done the past couple of weeks, mate. I know we've lost 5-1 again, but I refuse to do it. So how are you feeling?
Merry Christmas. How am I feeling? First of all, I've seen a lot of people go, oh, well, that was our best chance in God knows how many years to win a domestic trophy. It wasn't.
Yeah.
Let's get that right. One win in God knows how long, 60 odd years at Anfield suggests that wasn't our best time. Regardless, we could have played the boys of '86 and it's probably still not won. Especially
as they're all about 65.
Yeah, that as well. Yeah. But at the same time, the frustration from me and the majority of the fan base, I believe, is that it was the manner of which it was the 5-1 defeat. Going to Anfield and losing 5-1, there'll be a lot of teams that do that this season. We've gone there and we've barely done anything. We had 2 shots all game. They came in the second half. One of those was Bowen's goal. Fantastic finish, by the way. The other one was a kudos one that hit Rose Ed. Like, you can't go into games like that and almost concede defeat from the very beginning. And like, starting 11 was questionable, to say the least. And so, yeah, okay, it was a difficult draw, and the likelihood is that we were going to lose. But I think the reality is that we've not given ourselves any chance of winning that game. Yes, Liverpool were rested a few players and were weaker than their normal starting 11 would be in the Premier League, but their second string could beat our first team. Let's have it right. Like, they're got a strong squad. I don't care how many players they rested. They still played Van Dijk, still played Darwin Núñez, who's class. Szoboszlai is one of the best midfielders in the Premier League in my eyes. I think he's fantastic. So I don't care whether they rested players or not. The fact is that they were better than our strongest 11. That 11 would have been better than us. But I'm just frustrated that we've approached that game in the way that we did after such a really positive game against Wolves, performance against Wolves, a really positive win against Freiburg to win the group.
Are you talking about more you're talking about the selection, the team selection?
The team selection has a part to play, but I've said, I don't know whether you've seen me on Twitter this morning, I think the team selection and the performance that followed in that Liverpool game really underlines the lack of squad building that Moyes has done over the last 4 years, and the lack of squad management. I think so many teams will rest players in competitions like this, particularly if they've got Europe to deal with as well. They've got, I think this is our 5th Thursday night in a row, if you take into account the Tottenham game that we had on the Thursday night. And there's been a lot of games. It was well documented that we were coming into, I think it was like 9 games in 21 days or something crazy like that. So he would have had to rotate the squad. But there should have been a plan for this period in that, okay, well, we need to give some of these squad players some minutes so that when they are called upon, they're not thrown into the deep end. Like that was Ben Johnson's third appearance of the season.
Yeah, but you can't say that because you'd have, and everyone else would have been proper kicking off if he'd got any time at Wolves and we hadn't won, or any of the other games recently. Everyone's been kicking off when our first team lose.
No,
games.
I'm not saying start Maxwell Cornet, Ben Johnson, Pablo Fornals, Thilo Kehrer every single week. I'm saying is give them more minutes. Ben Johnson's third appearance of the season, and he's thrown in the deep end, out of position, away at Anfield in a quarter-final of the League Cup, and expected to perform at the highest possible level. It's his first appearance in a month. Thilo Kehrer comes on for the last 5-10 minutes of Premier League games. It's the same situation with Fornals. Cornet was ill, but I'm pretty sure Cornet probably would have got some minutes. He gets more minutes than most and still doesn't get enough, I don't think. And I think that's the situation is that now someone said,
what about all the other... I don't really know. What would you have done? I don't...
What I'm saying is that these players, that it's all very well rotating a team and resting players in games like that. But you have to plan for it and manage the squad. So when you do decide to do that, it isn't as detrimental to the performance of the team. A lot of those players have barely played any minutes.
Benrahma and Fornals have been coming on semi-regularly in like recent games. Fornals, I think, and both of them have got some minutes in Europe. Mavropanos has played quite a bit. Last night, by the way, as far as he goes, I know people are saying he's playing alongside Ogbonna, which hampers him, which I understand, but I'm just losing less and less faith in him, really. He just looks like he's always got an absolute clanger in him, like a proper dodgy pass or something like that. And then Angelo Ogbonna just hasn't really been the same since his injury, which he come back from. Mid-30s now, I sort of grant that. But really, and Ben Johnson, you mentioned Ben Johnson there, but it's only really Ben Johnson and Ogbonna who haven't had, I don't know, like an hour and a half of football over the last sort of 4 games, probably.
I just don't think they're not being given enough minutes. It's not enough minutes. You can't expect a player to come on every week for the last 10 minutes.
None of them are good. None of them are best players.
But how do you expect them to be good if they're not playing any minutes? That's my issue. You can't expect footballers, don't care what level they're at, you can't expect footballers, particularly in an away game at Anfield in the quarterfinal of the Cup, to come in and hit the ground running and absolutely like play brilliantly if their game time is stop-start.
Like it's only Johnson and Ogbonna, isn't it? Really,
Fornals, he's played 19 appearances, but a lot of those have been sub-appearances.
Yeah, because he's not one of our best players. That's going to happen.
Yeah, but in a lot of games, Moyes is making subs in like the 75th minute. He's making subs in the 75th minute, giving players 15 minutes every other week.
So you're saying that he should be putting on Pablo Fornals or Saïd Benrahma, for example, sooner in games in order to prepare him for games like this, rather than... which is more important than actually doing anything in that game. That doesn't make any sense.
So against Wolves, I think he made 1 sub and that came in the 85th minute. The game was won off by the hour. When you make some changes, knowing that you've got 3 games in a week coming up.
What do you mean? He'd have been better.
That's just one example. That's just one example. How many times have we complained that Moyes takes forever to make substitutions?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So you're 3-0 up at home to Wolves. Games won, or even at 2-0. Games won. Wolves aren't really laying a glove on us. Right, okay. We've got a game at Anfield. I'm already planning to rest a few first team players. We've got a big game against Man United on the Saturday. Let's give some of these players that I'm planning to start a few minutes so that they're not going in cold because I haven't played for 15 days or whatever it might have been.
But Bowen scored in the 74th minute against Wolves to wrap it up.
The game was won at half time.
It wasn't. What are you talking about? That goal they had disallowed by VAR. It's a totally different game. It definitely wasn't one until Bowen scored. It's absolutely not one just because we were 2-0 up. I'm sorry. You can't say, oh, we're 2-0 up at half time. So throw all the players who, let's be honest,
I'm
are
not saying
rubbish.
all of them. I'm
Ben
not
Rama and
saying all of
Fornals
them.
have been rubbish
I'm not
this
saying
year.
all of them. All I'm saying is there's a reason why a lot of these players.
Throw Ben Johnson or Ogbonna on when you're
I'm
trying
not
to
saying
defend a
that at all.
2-0 lead.
What I'm saying is that, and I'm not just talking about one game. What I'm saying is you can't only rely on 11 or 12 first team players all season, then choose to rotate the squad, and then expect that those players to come in and start performing as well as the first team players in the same system. The fact is, a lot of those players are out of game time and are out of minutes because they're not given enough minutes throughout the season. They're not distributing the minutes well enough. It's not great squad management. I think that the Liverpool game, and there's probably even the
who would you rather
Olympiacos
see
game.
more of then? Who would you
I'm not
rather
saying
see
I'm not
more
saying
of?
I'm not saying he should start all these players. I'm saying
No.
he needs to
Who
give
would you
these
rather
players
see
more
more of?
minutes.
But
Well,
like
all of the players
who?
that didn't perform well. All of the players.
So
I mean,
you'd want to see more of Ben Johnson, more of Angelo Ogbonna?
Well, Ogbonna's different because he's about 48, so I can't really blame him for not being sharp and not being given many minutes, to be honest. But
or Ben Johnson, though, if he's not good, he's nowhere near as good as Emerson or Vladimir Soufal, is he?
Well, no, but at the same time,
when are you going to want to see him?
Well, he's played 3 games all season. I'd expect him, if he's the backup right back, you'd expect him to play a little bit more, wouldn't you? Than 3 games.
Why though? I don't understand. I don't think he's good enough. Really, is he? Clearly isn't.
Well, how do
he
we know he's not
really
good
get
enough?
played in Europe much, does he?
How do we know he's not good enough when he's only playing 3 games?
Well, he's clearly not at the level of Soufal, is he, or Emerson?
I
Like,
thought he played.
I don't think that's a
well in the
lack of
second half
game
against
time
Liverpool,
thing, is it?
So what's your stance? You think that the squad is managed absolutely perfectly, and
No, I'm just saying I haven't wanted in the build up to a Liverpool game I haven't wanted to see like more of any of the players who played last night in the team.
It's not.
Fornals and Benrahma come on at the end of games and Cornet, and they're clearly nowhere near at the level of our first team players, right? We're at a club of West Ham's level, unlike a Liverpool. Like it happens with all clubs, doesn't it? Right? Even Aston Villa are doing well this year. They're like second string, unlike teams like City or Liverpool, or whatever, is noticeably worse, right? Liverpool have 2 squads of, like you said, their B team, as obviously happened, but their B team could beat our first team probably. Same as Man City, same at Arsenal. Most players who sit on the bench of Manchester United, Manchester City, Arsenal, and Liverpool would walk into most other Premier League starting 11s, right? That's just the nature of it. It's unreasonable and unfair, but that is the nature of our game at the moment. But this season, and all of those players on our bench, it hasn't exactly been like an absolute battle for positions like we've had in the past, where the best example, weirdly, was when we had Jesse Lingard and people were going, Said Benrahma should be starting. But he was being kept out of the team by someone good, but he was doing good stuff when he came on. This season, the reason David Moyes, aside from his own conservative sort of approach, which I agree that he obviously does have when it comes to subs, but aside from that, the reason is because how much faith do you think he has in them players? It just baffles. Like, I've had it with Said Benrahma last night. Pathetic, absolutely pathetic performance. Yet another one. Quotes he come out with the other day, saying he's not sure if his future is at West Ham, sort of having a bit of a dig at Moyes, saying he'll see what happens in January. Good riddance, pal. Like, please see what happens in January. Like, I just don't think we've been struggling this year. Everyone's been moaning all the time that if David Moyes has given any of these like subpar players, who, i.e., our bench, any more time than he has, he's already getting pelters when he plays all our best players. I just think that's just an easy thing to say after we've been hammered 5-1 at Liverpool. I agree with you. I don't think you should start Ben Johnson and Angelo Ogbonna, but his argument will be, well, this is the lowest priority competition of the season. It's far more important to beat Wolves and Man United. And look, the 6,000 people who went up there, and I was close to going, ended up couldn't quite get enough time off work. And look, and it was the same when I went to Olympiacos. You know what I was like after that game? I was angry and furious with the team that he put out because I'd gone all that way. And I feel the same about last night's game. But it's one of them. It's like we're paying these players. They should be ready for, but they're just not good enough, are they? But he would have got pelters if he started our first 11 and we got beaten anyway, which is likely what would have happened. Then they're all tired for the weekend. It's like, what do you do?
Okay, well, it goes back to my original point. He's not built a good enough squad. They're all not good enough. He's bought them. He's bought every single one of those players.
But they have been good at times, haven't they? Fornals has been good before.
Okay.
So Bonner was good ages ago.
And then they've all been replaced by stronger players over time, right? Okay.
Yeah.
But they were still probably good enough when stronger replacements came in. Okay, that's brilliant. You know, we've got Ben Rahman was good 3 years ago. Okay, brilliant. But now we've got XYZ. Great. Ben Rahman can still come off the bench and potentially have an impact. Similar thing with Johnson, with Kehrer, with Fornals, for example, in midfield. You go, okay, brilliant. Now we've got those players to come in. So at what point did they suddenly become not good enough? It was the point when they stopped getting adequate amount of game time throughout the season to the point where when they are called upon, they're rusty. That's my point about squad management. If you're going to replace you need to be good players
enough to get minutes.
Yeah, but at what point didn't they become good enough?
Well, O'Connor's was his injury, to be fair. Yeah. He's getting old as hell. He's been a great servant to the club.
O'Connor's absolutely fine.
He's been a great servant.
But at what point did Pablo Fornals, if he's not in his plans, why wasn't he replaced with someone that is in his plans in the season? That, okay, mate, you're not going to start, but I'm going to give you a certain amount of minutes. You're going to be rotated a little bit throughout the season because we've got a lot of fixtures this season. If he's not good enough, why is he still at the football club? The same goes for Thilo Kehrer. The same goes for Cornet. The same goes for Ings, for example.
I don't know why Kehrer didn't start.
If none of them are good enough, if those fringe players aren't good enough, then why are they still at the football club? That's my point. I think a lot of them are good enough. It's just that when they're called upon, they're rusty. That's my point about squad management. Or squad building. If you're not going to build a squad that has more than 12 players that are good enough to start in the team and actually have an impact on the team, then you haven't built a good enough squad to compete at this level.
No, I don't.
And that falls on David Moyes.
Well, it always falls on everyone at the club, to be fair, doesn't it? But I don't necessarily argue that. But it's like at the beginning of the season, I think arguably we all said that, you know, we think that we've got a strong squad, especially once Kudus and Alvarez and we made all those signings. We were like, brilliant. Like, we've upgraded our first 11, which is what we needed to do. And then, like, it's almost a few of the players that got pushed out. Ben Rama, obviously. It was like, that's good because, and Fornals a bit, so that's good. Those players can come off the bench. Fornals I totally get that. Again, we've had good years out of him. He's been a brilliant servant, given us some great memories. He's clearly doesn't want to renew his contract and he's going to leave. So there we go. That's fine. And I think the style of his sort of, you can just tell he's just sort of like a bit fed up and a little bit of the motivation's gone. And it's like you can sort of understand that. But I think how many more minutes can Ben Rama have, for example? Like, Fornals has been coming on a bit recently, still not quite there. But the only alternative to what you're saying is basically that and I don't necessarily disagree with this, is that he should have started a much stronger team last night.
Yes.
But then if you don't really, I know it's Liverpool away, I understand that, but he'll be looking at it as it's just that competition. We've got a busy old Christmas period coming up. We're through to the knockout stage of the Europa League. As far as just general season management goes by David Moyes, although it appears like a big game, and it obviously is for the fans and the ones that went up there, he's probably like, well, it's far more of my job. One of his KPIs at his job, success in the Carabao Cup is going to be right down there, isn't it? Basically, if you win the thing, you only just about break even, don't you? And he's like, I don't think Ben Johnson and Angel Bonner have got a place at the club. Fornals obviously hasn't. He will move on. Ben Rama should go. But the alternative is playing all your best players, isn't it? Which perhaps you,
at the end of the day,
if
you think the squad players aren't up, if you think the fringe players aren't good enough and they should be moved on, then they shouldn't be playing for the club. If David Moyes doesn't trust them and he doesn't think they're good enough, which is what you think and what you're saying, if he doesn't think they're good enough, then they shouldn't be playing at Liverpool away in the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup. It should be the 11 players that he thinks are good enough to win that game of football, or at least compete against Liverpool at Anfield.
But that's not how football works, mate, is it? Like it's like you're talking about squad management. Like, you know well enough that I know lots of fans just think you should shut your eyes, pick your best 11 players. Like, there's millions of pounds of sports science that goes into these things, like players' fatigue level, recovery times, that sort of stuff. Like, the reason that he played all those players last night isn't because he thought this is my best chance of winning this particular game.
Well, obviously not.
It's because he thought, well, actually, his priority last night was making sure that James Ward-Prowse, Lucas Paqueta, Kurt Zouma, and Emerson, who are the starting 11 players who are on the bench, I've got enough energy to play again on Saturdays, Sunday, Saturday, whenever the Man United game is. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not, you know that as well as anyone.
Yeah, I get that.
Just pick your 11 best players.
I get that, but my point is that the players he did pick didn't have the match sharpness and the energy to compete on the day because they've not been managed well over the course of the season in terms of being given enough game time. That was my point.
Come on, mate. Bonner could play every week. He's not going to be good enough, is he? Ben Johnson could play every week. He's not going to be good enough.
I think the Ogbonna one was forced, given Aguero Brazil, wasn't he? So I think the Ogbonna one was forced.
Play Kehrer, though. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe. But like Kehrer comes off the bench. This is another game where he's just come off the bench for the last 20 minutes, 15 minutes.
I just don't understand what more you want than that, mate. Because he's not good enough to start, is he? Well, that's the nature of being not good enough.
I'm not saying start these players. I'm saying there has to be a way of giving these players more minutes, so that when they are called upon to, mate, you're going to start because I need to rest players for the league game. You're going to start at Liverpool in the Cup, or you're going to start at Olympiacos away. There has to be a way of managing these players so when they are called upon, they're not thrown into the deep end. Ben Johnson was thrown into the deep end at Anfield.
Yeah, definitely.
First appearance in a month, playing out of position, wrong side of defence, away at Anfield in the quarterfinal of the Cup. Like, that's really bad squad management.
I just don't know why he's playing. Like, I think that's an awful pick. Like, you've got Aaron Cresswell sitting on the bench.
You've got Cresswell's another one that's barely played this season. So it would have been the exact same thing with Cresswell. How many games has Cresswell played? 5 games this season. Like, and they're not even 5 full games. There's a few of those are subs. He's barely got that any minutes.
Like one of our best players, though.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Like, if you'd have played Cresswell, it'd have been the same thing because he's barely played football this season.
But okay, that's fine. But the flip side of that is, for example, West Ham 2, Freiburg 0 the other week. We had to win that game. You play Aaron Cresswell, and he might get more minutes, so he's a bit fresher for the Carabao Cup. But we might be in the last 32 of the Europa League instead of the last 16. Like,
we had to win that game, and so we played our strongest team.
Exactly, but that's precisely what I'm saying. So I'm asking, in all the Premier League games, we all have to win because Moyes has been getting pelters for it all season, right? He's been getting pelters all season. So you're not going to give Cresswell more minutes in a game. Lots of the games have been in a close, or we've been losing till the late on anyway. So Cresswell doesn't give you anything more in attack than Emerson does. And if you're defending a lead this season, he's been susceptible, so he's not going to get any more game time than that. Like, when was the last time? What did you say? He played 5 times this season. Yeah, last game he starts back at Topola. That's like fair enough. Like, when else are you going to put him on?
So he's played twice in Europe, both against Bacca.
Yeah.
Started in the Everton game. That's because Emerson was suspended. Came off the bench against Forest for the last 10 minutes, I think it was. And then started against Fulham. But I'm not calling for Creswell to start every week.
No, I know.
I'm not calling for Fornals to start every week. But I'm saying there has to be opportunities. Maybe if you need to, make the subs earlier. Like, how many times have we moaned that he's making subs in the last 5-10 minutes?
But
Give
David
these players
Moyes
minutes.
in games isn't thinking, I better give Fornals a few more. I'm going to give him half an hour today, even though we're, drawing or we're losing away to Burnley. I don't worry about winning this game. I better make sure that the periphery players in my team are getting more minutes. He hasn't got that luxury. Not this season. Everyone's been absolutely hounding him. And we're in the top half of the Prem and we just won our Europa League group and he's been getting absolute pelters. If he starts throwing on players who just aren't good enough, he plays Benrahma far more than I think he should. If he starts randomly throwing
if these
on Aaron
players
Cresswell,
aren't good enough, why has he still got them in his squad? Why didn't he ship them out?
Because you need a squad, don't you? He still needs players to come in.
This is my point, is that he hasn't got a squad. He's got 11 first-team players and then a load of crap. And that's down to him.
Well, but then again, you are right. I do agree that. But what I'm saying is, at the beginning of the season, though, we didn't think it was a load of crap, did we? We were like, that's pretty good. Good attacking options. Benrahma on the bench, Fornals on the bench, Cornet. Still don't know what's going on with him.
We were there's a lot of rotation option here. There's a lot of rotation. And then it doesn't rotate forever. And then heavily rotates 2 games. And both of those performances were 2 worst performances this season.
But genuinely, mate, come on, answer me honestly. And you can't, there's no way you can seriously put this down just to rustiness. Is that when has Benrahma, he's got, honestly, you've seen his goals and assist stats for the season. It's a shambles. Mohamed Kudus has come into the club. Yeah. I think he's got one assist, maybe.
Yeah. 1 assist.
Yeah. Mohamed Kudus has come into the club and shown him how to play that position properly, humbled him, embarrassed him. Pablo Fornals, again, great servant to the club before. There's obviously something else going on. He just doesn't see his future at West Ham and it's just going through the motions, right? I'm not saying that's great, like professionalism, but it happens, right? Let's not pretend David Moyes is the first manager to struggle like with that sort of thing. So, you sort of get it really. And I honestly just think that I agree that we do need improvement in our squad now, but that's sort of that's a difficult thing to manage when you're a club like West Ham, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
No, I agree with that.
Typically, we all have a starting 11 that's good, and then just sort of players on the bench that you hope can have an impact or don't weaken your team enough when you make a few changes for the cup games. But that, once again, I still think, mate, and I'm not getting away from this, I still think that lineup chosen by David Moyes for the Liverpool game, just as I said against Olympiacos away, and I was furious with that because I was there. And I just think it's too weak. It's too much. It's too many changes there. If you can't, and he's probably thinking, right, well, listen, we got well unlucky with those 2 League Cup draws, which we did, to be fair, right? Arsenal at home and Liverpool away. That is quite bad luck, isn't it? If we got flipping Macclesfield at home or whatever, or Port Vale, some of the big teams often do, then Ben Johnson would have started, no problem. Aaron Cresswell would have started, no problem. All of the periphery, Ings, he probably would have started, and probably not with Ings, but all of the periphery players would have started. We'd have probably just about edged past Macclesfield, and it's fine. He hasn't been granted that opportunity, and because of his weak selection at Olympiacos away, he also didn't have the luxury of a game to play with at the end of the group. So it meant he had to play a strong team for that. And I haven't got any faith in any of our subs, right? Beyond our starting 11, when Mikel Antonio comes back, I still don't want to see him starting. I think we have got a really strong starting 11, and then the drop off to our subs is too big. I agree with you that is too big, but I totally refute, James, that the reasons for that is just rustiness. Like, come on.
It's squad management.
That is not
We
the
will have
only
to agree.
reason Said Benrahma and Pablo Fornals and Ben Johnson and Angelo Ogbonna don't have impacts. That is not the only reason.
Well,
You can't say that.
I'm not saying it's the only reason, but I think it's a factor. I genuinely think that these players, Ben Johnson being the main one, were asked to go into, especially in such a difficult place to go in Anfield against a really, really good footballing team,
Yeah.
and expecting him to go and potentially like get West Ham into the semi-final of the cup.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't trust him, you don't think they're good enough, or you don't think if they've not been enough minutes throughout the season and not match fit, don't play them. I don't care about, we've got a big game on Saturday. Don't play them.
That is naive. You're talking about squad management there.
Well, at the end of the day, what you're saying is that they're not good enough, right? Well, if they're not good enough, don't play them. Like, we keep saying that about Danny Ings all season. Why do you bring Danny Ings on? He's rubbish.
Yeah, definitely.
So why is he starting Ben Rami? He's rubbish. Why is he starting Fornals? Why is he starting Ben Johnson? They're rubbish. Why is he doing it?
Genuinely, though, the reason is not because he thinks they're good. It's because he's worried about it's because he wants to leave the players on the bench that he did last night, those starters I just read out. He wants to ensure that they've got enough energy to manage the game on the weekend. And look, let's be honest, right? And I know because it's Liverpool away and because it's a chance to get to a semi, fans look at it and go, oh, it's a huge game. If you are David Moyes, for your own job security, it's well more important that he wins at the weekend. It was a great performance against Wolves, really good, proper positive, great feeling in the ground, really enjoyed the day. And if you're David Moyes, ultimately at the end of the season, like it's more important for him to win the Manchester United game, isn't it? Because his bosses, right, whatever you think, his bosses will be going, right, Dave, 3 games this week, Wolves, then a cup game at Liverpool, and then Man United at home in the league. Ultimately, mate, they're going, win the 2 Prem ones, mate. Win the 2 Prem ones. The prize money's there. Like, it's better for the club long term. That's what they care about, isn't it?
But you said he made too many changes. So
I agree.
So there would have been some first team players that you would have liked to have seen protected for Saturday in that starting 11.
No, I genuinely think I understand why there has to be an element of that. And I do just think he's sort of unlucky with the League Cup draw where he hasn't really been. And the Europa League thing I've covered was his own fault. But no, I think that was too much of a weak team last night. But what I will say is, which I always sort of think is important to remember, which fans hardly ever do, we're not sitting there. It's well easy to say that. We're not sitting there with all the sports sort of like science data or whatever. Like Emerson in particular. And I'm sitting there going, well, Emerson didn't play. Why didn't you play Aaron Cresswell? Like, who knows what reasons there might be, right? He might know Cresswell's leaving. There might have been a disciplinary issue in the squad. He might have had a minor knock. Who knows, right? None of us are au fait to that information because managers sort of don't really come out, well, they never do, and explain every single element of their selection. But I just think that if, pending any other extenuating circumstances, that in an ideal world, the attacking lot more so, it's not like overly weak, is it? Like Benrahma is appalling, obviously. Fornals is sort of okay. But you've got Kudus in there, Bowen, like Alvarez and Souček behind. It's still like a decent-ish midfield. I just think it's the Ben Johnson and Ogbonna bit. Like, if Cresswell is not fallen off a cliff majorly. He's nowhere near as good as Emerson, but Emerson's one of our best players. Like, why don't you play Cresswell in that game? Like, I don't really understand that. Thilo Kehrer can play as a centre-back and has done in the past. and again, Angelo Ogbonna clearly is falling off the cliff now, isn't he? Of like,
well, he's one verge of
yeah,
retirement.
not his fault. The injury, and he's 73. Honestly, I don't know. You've got players there. Get rid of Ben Rama in January. The Fornals thing, whether he's going to stay for the rest of the season or he'll go in Jan, I don't know.
The thing is, right, and this is the next part of the debate, is that I've seen a lot of people go, right, well, when January comes, Ben Rama's got to be sold. Fornals has got to be sold. Ings has got to be sold. Cornet's got to be sold.
Cornet, I don't know. Yeah,
okay, well,
fine.
All right. What then? We need to buy a striker. Right, we're going to replace all of those players, because if we don't, then the first team that was protected for Saturday are going to have to play the next 30 games for the rest of the season.
Oh yeah, quite.
So we can't sell all of these players in January. Like we genuinely can't. We can't sell all these players in January.
No.
So it's like, I know, Ben Rama's got to go in January. So okay, well then what do you do then? Do you replace him? How much money have we got to replace Ben Rama? Probably not a lot once we've tried to buy another striker who's probably not going to work out, and we'll sell him for 30 million loss in 12 months' time. Like this is the situation we're in, is that a lot of this squad building and this squad stuff should have been done in the summer. Because now we are where we are.
Again, mate, but you say
we've got 8 players in the squad that no one's good enough. No, everyone's rubbish. Oh, look, we've only got 12
we all thought
players
we were all right, didn't we?
We did, but then the trouble is, though, these players aren't being given enough time to be all right. They're not playing enough to be all right. That's
absolutely nothing to do with it. But I think we've laboured this point long enough, whether it's about them playing or not. But yeah, I do agree. You can't just do wholesale thing in January. Get rid of Ben Rama and Ings, though. Genuinely, like, they are bad. Like, they are really bad.
Ings, I agree with, because we've got to replace him with a striker that can come off the bench and actually run about and do something, kick a football towards a goal. But
where
Ben Rama,
actual players are.
Ben Rama, I just don't see the point.
0 goals, 0 assists in 17 Prem games, or however many games he's played.
He's coming on for the last 10 minutes of games most of the time. I mean, I thought
that's just not true, is it?
Like, I thought against Liverpool he was atrocious. Against Liverpool he was atrocious. He started. Yeah. He's played 19 games this season. He started 4 in the Premier League, 3 in the Cups, and 4 in Europe. So what's that? 8? That's 11. So he started 11 games. How many has he been subbed off?
That's a fair old amount, mate.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Probably
6,
not far
7.
off of half our games.
He's been subbed off in 8 different games.
But why do you think that is, mate? Because he's crap. Not because he's an attacking midfield player, and he's got 0 goals and 1 assist in 19 games appearances for this season.
2 assists all season.
Mohamed could have scored 2 goals in 1 game the other day. He's been getting assists left, right, and centre like Jared Bowen does. That's what attacking players are supposed to do.
Anyway, let's move on.
But that is right, isn't it? Look, 1 assist and 0 goals in 19 appearances.
He's got 2 assists this season. Yeah.
Was he? What was the other one?
Let me just have to find the other one.
Oh, I'm on transfer marked.
He got one in the League Cup against Lincoln, and that 1-0 win, and 1 at Brighton, the goal for Bowen. 2 assists.
No, he hasn't been transfer marked. Haven't given him the one at Lincoln. Shame.
It was a corner.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, they've done him out of a. They've done him out of an assist. Well, it hardly sort of completely waters down my point, does it? But yeah, look, I mean, you know what? Again, it's one of them, right? The scoreline again, isn't it? Really,
the scoreline makes it worse. If we'd have lost that game 2-1 or 2-0,
yeah,
even 3-0, it's like, oh, okay, fair enough. But it's not just the scoreline for this one. I think the performance as well was absolutely atrocious. 2 shots.
Yeah.
2 shots. I don't care whether it's Anfield or Liverpool. Like 2 shots in a quarter-final of the Cup. Like, it's pathetic, really. It's pathetic. But
I mean, it was a bit peculiar, really, because I watched the first half, like in the pub, and it was like, oh, all right, not great there, but 1-0 down, you take it. Bit of a shake up in the second half, maybe.
Well, at 1-0 at
what
half time, I thought this could go the same way it went at Tottenham only a few weeks ago.
That.
We could turn this around in the second half. If you make some subs at half time, then we've got an opportunity. Instead, he makes two of his subs came while we were waiting to kick off after conceding, for crying out loud. I mean, yeah.
But I'll watch the I'll stay here, I'll stick around then, because I was going to go at half time, watch the second half at home. I thought, no, we've got half a chance here. And then, I see Curtis Jones one's going, and I was just like, all right, well, I'll dash home now then. And then, because it's probably all over, and I'll try and get there just for like the last sort of 10 minutes or whatever. Because I weren't miles away from home. And just like I got a cab and didn't have any notifications on my phone or anything like that. And and then got in, checked the score. I was like, I'm not turning that back on. Like, absolutely no way. I think it was just before Bowen had scored as well. It was up 4-0 by then. And no, it wasn't. No, I can't. I don't think Bowen had scored yet.
We scored at 3. We scored at 3-0, didn't we?
Yeah. No, it was definitely 4. I think it was 4-1. And I was like, I'm not. And then it was like only at the end I saw it was 5. I was like, load of text from my Liverpool mates doing made in. Jonesy, but look, it's a bit annoying. We should have just done the flipping podcast earlier in the week and we could have had a rare positive one. I actually thought Wolves was absolutely brilliant on Sunday. We also beat Freiburg Thursday, which was a really good performance as well. We do seem to be shooting ourselves in the foot recently, don't we? Beat Tottenham and then go and lose 5-0 at Fulham to sort of turn the discourse negative again. Same thing, 2 excellent performances. And they really were good as well, weren't they? A bit more what fans have been crying out to see. Sort of like going after teams. Freiburg just attacked them early, like we were hoping for on the pod in the build up to that. They win 2-1. Wolves, same again. Really positive performance. I did think it was on a bit of a knife edge. I think if Wolves is one that got disallowed for VAR had been given and gone in, the whole place would have got really nervous, wouldn't it? And then you sort of think, blimey, here we go. But as it was, we thoroughly deserved that. We were good for every single goal and every single point from both of those games. Great news that we're through to the last 16 of the Europa League. And, but again, obviously annoying. If you're probably right, it would have just been better to just lose that game at Liverpool 2-1. And then crack on. But 8th in the league, just a point behind Man United. We're only 2 points behind Newcastle and only 6 behind Tottenham, who are apparently the best football team on the whole planet this season. Now they've got Big Ange Postecoglou in charge. How are you feeling ahead of the weekend and the busy festive period?
Well, we're snap bang in the middle of this busy festive period, aren't we? But I feel quite confident about Saturday against United. If we can beat them, and I think we're more than good enough to beat them at the moment. Beat them at home, that puts us well in the mix for this race for the top 7, which is currently being competed for by 9 different teams. Puts us well in the mix, well clear of 11th, and really almost sets a marker down for the rest of those teams competing. We're in amongst this, and we're serious about competing for it. And I'm confident we can do it. The last 2 home games, it's Freiburg and Wolves, giving me confidence that, particularly at home, we've turned a corner a little bit, and we're a better team, and we're a good side, and we can play with intensity and purpose, and get at them quickly and cause some problems. And with the way that Kudus is scoring goals now, he's 1 away from double figures already. Bowen's already on 12.
Player.
Yeah, both of them. So we've got goals in our attack now. Paqueta just assisting everyone. He
was brilliant, really.
Bowen at the post. When Bowen hit the post, that could have been 4 assists for Paqueta in one game.
Yeah.
Just a superb performance from him as well. So we've got the squad there, and not the squad. No, definitely not the squad. The team there in terms of starting 11 to give it to United and cause them problems, and they're all over the gaff, aren't they? They've got a good point at Anfield. But
They did, but mate, they're a bit like us, aren't they? A bit like yo-yo. Get a good result, and then it'll sort of all goes. The wheels fall off again. They're there for the taking, mate. Definitely.
Massively there for the taking. We beat them at home last season 1-0. I do fancy us. I think it'd be a nice way to kick off the Christmas celebrations with a win over United. Go 7th, maybe even 6th, depending on other results. Happy days, and then it takes us into the trip to Arsenal a few days later. If I'm honest, I'm completely and utterly dreading that one. But it gives us a little bit of confidence going into that.
Yeah, no, I quite agree, man. I think we're. I'm a bit loath to do this sort of thing, really, because apparently it just no longer matters how many points you get as a football team. I think loads of people have just completely lost sight of what it is to be a football team at the moment. I just want to give a quick, not a shout out so much, but Guy Yardley, big head honcho of the Adelaide Hammers, who's extremely welcoming to me. When I went to Australia in the summer, a couple of great nights out with Guy. He's been just non-stop trolling me, basically. He finds it absolutely abrasive and offensive that I've got the gall to suggest that actually being in the top half of the league through to the last 16 of Europe's second-tier competition and through to the quarterfinals of the League Cup is actually okay for a club like West Ham. He's extremely offensive. So he's been sending me quite a lot of clown emojis, to be fair. Keeps referring back to a lot of what's it called? A lot of the things I say on the pod. Most recently, we've got the best squad in my lifetime, and we play like 2013 Allardyce, but worse. I mean, screw your head on, Guy, I think. James, one thing I do want to do, we've sort of launched into a 45-minute introduction again, which I think we're just going to accept is the whole podcast this week. We will have Betway charity bets in a little while as a separate, but I just want to say thank you to a few people. All the housekeeping I always go through. Follow us on Twitter at @WeAre_West Ham. Get us on Instagram at @WeAreWestHamPod, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, please. That would be very handy indeed. And leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. One thing we do say every week, though, is that you can buy me and James a pint if you want at buymeacoffee.com/WeAreWestHam. So I just want to say thanks to a couple of people. Jonesy, you've done that this week, and read out some messages. Derek bought a couple of beers for us, Jonesy. So that's £10 in the kitty. The money goes directly to me and James. We only ever spend it together over the bar or on license fees, equipment stuff, guest fees, whatever, to make the podcast better for you. Derek, thanks you both for keeping this great podcast going. It's a real pleasure to listen to you both every week. With regard to the ongoing Moyes in or out discussion, I'm a total Remainer. I've been supporting the Hammers since before the 1980 FA Cup win, and excluding the all too brief 85-86 season, these are the best of times. Moyes has stabilised the ship. There will still be choppy waters and got us dreaming again. He's made the front line of Bowen, Kudus and Paqueta a real force, and other players such as Souček are finding form again and bedding in nicely now, like Alvarez. I wouldn't say they were boring either. There's anticipation each time one of those front three get the ball. Thanks again, chaps. Come on, you Irons. Thanks very much to Derek for that. Jonesy, while I just search for the other people to say thanks to, have you got any sort of thoughts on what Derek said there? Feels like he's had you on toast a bit.
Everyone's entitled to their opinion. So I'm going to say.
Well, and he's bought you a pint, so you can't go too two-footed on him.
Exactly. No, fair play. Fair play. No, it's a good opinion to have.
Yeah. It's a good opinion to have, and that is your right, Derek. Yeah, it doesn't sound like James. Jim Odie got in touch again, Jonesy, and said, I feel very honoured and proud to have been given a name check on this week's podcast. Well, I've got some great news for you, Jim. You've just had 2 in 2 weeks. We're all very...
Is that another one?
Exactly. Happy Christmas indeed. We're all very passionate about a much-loved club, and defeats do hurt. They hurt us all. I didn't watch Match of the Day 2 after Fulham, that's for sure. Just on the way at the game tonight, with everything crossed we don't lose. Keep up the good work. Season's greetings. Thanks very much, Jim, very kind of you indeed. Alan Hicks. Want to say he bought us 4 beers, James. Thanks very much, Alan. That'll be 2 beers each for me and you, James. We must get together very soon and share those. Hi, both. Really enjoying the content this season, as always. There's been some great debates recently between you both as to the results and style of play the Hammers are producing. The truth is probably somewhere between both views. All right, Alan. Don't need sensible, logical, calm analysis of me and Jones having a shout at each other every week. Yes, results are important, but so is entertainment. Fans will only put up with dull 1-0 wins for so long. But similarly, thrilling 4-3 losses can only be accepted for a while too. Like most things, finding a happy medium is the key. And I guess the question to be asked is whether Moyes is the man to enable that moving forward. Anyway, happy Christmas to you and all the other listeners, and here's to a successful second half of the season. What a nice bloke and sensible, all-round wise head Alan Hicks sounds, Jonesy, wouldn't you say?
I agree. I think that was one of the best messages we've had. Actually, I think I like the balance to it. We've not had a lot of balance on this podcast for a while, so
no, we really haven't. We really haven't. Well, look, thanks very much to all of you guys who've chipped in and bought a few pints. We had a couple of anonymous ones as well, people who didn't leave their name, just said great show, here's hoping for more wins for the rest of the season. So buymeacoffee.com/wearewestham if you fancy buying me and Jonesy a festive beer or two. We'll be very grateful for that indeed. So James, come and look, we're just going to blaze through this podcast. Just an FYI, me and James, as we always do every year, will be having a break. I know you might be listening thinking, well, that's counterintuitive because the football period is the most busy over Christmas. Well, frankly, me and Jonesy work our little socks off to get this podcast out week in, week out, particularly the last couple of seasons where we've been in Europe as well. It's a lot of opposition views, a couple of them a week, 2 games to look back on. Jonesy does a sterling job with the social media, editing everything up, getting it out on 2 different platforms, the podcast and the YouTube channel, plus all the other invisible bits that go with it from a sort of finance, tax perspective, that sort of thing. We're hardly, put it this way, neither of us have retired from this. We don't, though we make a few quid, a bit of beer money, but we've both got full-time jobs alongside this as well. Jonesy's got his young family. We both lead very, very busy lives. So when it comes to Christmas, we like to just take a step back from as much of that stuff as possible and spend a bit of a calm, relaxing time with our friends and family. So we hope you understand. If you don't, unfortunately, we're still going to do it anyway. So but look, thanks very much to everyone for listening this year. So you won't have a podcast from us. I'm going to try and actually get out a claret and blue view over Christmas for you. That I'm still in conversations about that. I'll try and get one of those out for you next week for a little bit of festive listening, but it certainly won't be like match specific or anything like that with the obviously Manchester United, Arsenal, and then who else we got, Jonesy? Brighton, isn't it, at home on January the 2nd?
Then Bristol City in the Cup.
Yeah, exactly. So me and Jonesy will be we'll have something out probably ahead of that Bristol City game. I would imagine I'll try and get a claret and blue view in next week. So on that note, James, to look ahead to the games we've got coming up, it's Manchester United on Saturday at home. Then we've got Arsenal away on the 28th of December, and then Brighton at home on January the 2nd. How are you feeling? Are you sort of approaching all of those at this stage?
Well, like I said before, I'm confident against United. The Arsenal game, dreading. But then Brighton, we've got over that. We've got that monkey off our back, haven't we? Haven't beaten them early this season.
Yeah,
they're in amongst it still, sort of fighting with us for that top 7, top 8. But they haven't been as good as they were last season. And playing them at home, I think we've got an opportunity of back-to-back wins over Brighton for over 100 years. Probably it's going to be since we last did that.
First time in 3 centuries.
So I'm again for the first time ever going into a game against Brighton, potentially going, we should win this. But I get the feeling that could come back to bite me a little bit. But I'm confident if we can pick up 4 to 6 points over the next 3 games, I'll be happy.
But will you be happy though? I just don't think you will. We play this game loads, and we say, "Look how many points we want from Leeds." I said it about Spurs.
It's the manner of the performances as well.
Like, weren't happy.
You've got to play well as well. There's no point grinding out last minute winners every week and going, "Oh, well, that's great. Oh, yeah, look how good we are." They just paper over the cracks. Those sort of performances.
I'll tell you what, right? Next season, right, when we win the Europa League semi-final over 2 legs against Galatasaray, and we draw 0-0 away, and it's a scrappy 1-0 at home in the second leg to get us to the Europa League final in Dublin at the end of May. You're not coming. You're not allowed to come. You have to sit. You're not even allowed to watch it on telly at home or celebrate if and when we win. I'm going to be in the stadium when we get 1-0 in the final in normal time and extra time, and then we win on pens. You're not allowed to celebrate. You can sit home on your own, grumbling to yourself. You do a podcast on your own because I'll be out in Dublin, pissed out my head, celebrating West Ham winning a 2nd consecutive European trophy. All you other misogs, it's just not good enough. I want the football to be. You're not allowed to celebrate. All right, it'll just be me and all the other Moyes in brigade, and you lot could sit home, patting each other on the back.
Very mature way of having a different opinion to me. Let's put it that way. We'll be there. I will be there celebrating. I mean, we've got to get there first, but I will be there celebrating regardless of whether we beat Galatasaray over 2 legs 9-0 or beat them 1-0 or beat them on penalties. Like, I'll be there and no one's stopping me.
Well, you're not allowed to celebrate. That's all I'm saying. What are you doing over Christmas, James?
Oh, what am I doing? So, over at sister-in-law's on Christmas Day, and then family over to ours on Boxing Day.
Lovely.
So yeah, what about you?
What have you bought, Harrison? Obviously, one of the most iconic We Are West Ham podcast chats was the time you bought him a shed, either for Christmas or his birthday. I can't remember. I know they're both in December, so you were cold putting it out. That's all I remember. And everyone was absolutely loving it in the comments.
Bought me that for his birthday last year, I think it was. But this year, what have I got him? I've got him loads of stuff. It's all.
He doesn't listen, mate. He doesn't listen.
No, but it's all in the wardrobe behind me.
Is it? You don't need to show me.
No, I'm not going to. But I've got basically it's just a load of toys, Transformers.
Yeah. Load of plastic
Wheels,
crap
Hot
that you'll
Wheels,
throw away in 6 months.
Yeah. I've got some games as well. Got some sort of. Do you remember Bop It's? Bop It.
Oh.
You twist it. Bop
what?
It,
hang on.
Press it.
Oh, what? Twist it. Turn it, push it, zap it, whatever it was. Yeah,
and you have to get like a high score. You have to get quicker and quicker. So we bought him one of those. Got him one of those. They've changed the design a little bit, but it's still a Bop It. So I bought one of those for him. That would be a good laugh. He's into his like games and puzzles at the moment. So lots of games.
Well, that's pretty good, isn't it? Like, sort of keeping him stimulated or whatever. I'm just sort of saying things I've probably heard online.
But then that's it.
Box Bop solo.
That's it.
Beat Bop solo.
God,
Bop it. Twist it. Spin it. Flick it. Pull it. Pass it.
Yeah. I wonder if I don't know how to turn this off now. I hope we haven't copyrighted anything there, but I wonder if anyone's listening who doesn't know what a Bop It is, that would have been the weirdest little section of a podcast ever. Particularly who's got very loads of overseas listeners. Just like I'm just picturing a load of Americans and Australians listening at the moment. Just going, what the hell are these guys? What's a Bop It? What the hell is a Bop It?
Just if you don't know what a Bop It is, Google it and buy one.
They're
not very expensive. They're about £12, and it's good fun for about 10 minutes.
Absolutely,
anyway, so you get really frustrated with
it. You launch it through the window.
Yeah.
James, it's probably worth, if you've got any festive message for all of our listeners, both at home and abroad. We've got loads of listeners in America, Australia, the far actually all over the place, to be quite honest, all over the world. So yeah, we always love hearing from all of you, wherever you are on the planet, whether you're just around the corner in London or whether you're the far-flung reaches. Even though he's been irritating me all week, Guy and all the Adelaide Hammers, want to say hello to them, and everyone down under and stateside, of course, and everywhere else in the world. Have you got any festive message for everyone, Jonesy?
Just thanks again to everyone that tunes in every week, whether that's on YouTube or on Spotify or Apple or wherever else they can find us. Just thanks for tuning in and supporting us for the last year. It's been reflecting on 2023. What a year! We ended our trophy drought, first trophy in our lifetime. We was over in Prague doing a show. Obviously, you went over to Australia pre-season, did a show there. Thanks to everyone that supported us on that as well. So it's just been a good year. The pod's grown. We've grown our audience a fair bit as well. So yeah, here's to growing even further and reaching more listeners, but obviously keeping the originals, the OGs of the We Are West Ham audience.
Exactly.
But yeah,
just several, haven't we, from the Love Sport days?
Yeah. It's just just massively appreciate it. It's no better feeling than getting good comments underneath our content, whether that's just a reel or whether it's a full episode, from people that say that they appreciate what we do every week and what we listen to. And I equally enjoy the ones where they go, "What on earth is Will talking about?" More of that, more of that in 2024, please. But yeah, no, I appreciate the love that we get every week. Love doing it with you, mate, and looking forward to doing more in 2024 and beyond.
More of the same next year, mate. Exactly that. Yeah, echo everything Jonesy said, really. I mean, yeah, I appreciate the format's gone to pot a little bit this week. We've had a bit of a struggle, just loads and loads of stuff that we're both doing up until Christmas. A bit trickier getting guests locked in and that sort of thing. So we hope you don't mind this slightly less structured, more informal episode this week. And I appreciate the last couple of weeks have just sort of gone into pandemonium somewhat, but it has felt like the bigger picture chat has been the more appropriate thing to focus on rather than the minutiae of the games in particular. I'm actually feeling pretty positive about the team on the whole. I know lots of you think that's sort of deluded and a bit off, but like James said, what a year it's been. The Prague thing, yeah, that's sort of, it's almost like that hasn't really settled in, really. It hasn't really sunk in what happened. It was all just a bit of a whirlwind and a bit much, quite frankly. But I've thoroughly enjoyed being a West Ham fan over a sustained period of time. It's been a bit of an odd podcast this year. It's because you sort of find yourself fighting a lot against. Well, I've certainly felt that way. Anyway, find yourself fighting a lot against some of the negativity and all that sort of thing, and sort of a case of trying not to let it drag me down sometimes when I'm just enjoying West Ham being far less rubbish than they have been for the vast majority of my life. But to be quite honest, the opportunities and the experiences we have had off of the back of doing this podcast, me and James have been doing this for a very, very long time now, and every year, really, every summer at the end of every season, we sort of have a proper sit down and go, right, are we going to do it again? Are we going to keep going? And something comes up. I want to say huge thanks to Miriam Errington down there in Australia and her company, Miriam Errington Conveyancing. You'll hear those adverts on each and every one of the podcasts, and her huge generosity meant I got to go out to Australia in the summer, which was amazing. And then, her support on the podcast this year just means we've sort of been able to step it up a little bit. And then when the away games come round, the European away games come round in the spring, me and Jonesy, either both of us or one of us will be at as many of those as we can, hopefully all of them, hopefully in the run all the way to the final, the Olympiacos game, and I was able to do that as well. All of that is sort of thanks to the generosity of Miriam and the guys at Betway, of course, who charity partner for this season. We're able to raise money again for the Bobby Moore Fund and the DT38 Foundation. Delighted to be able to do that. So yeah, all in all, really, really good. Really great year for the We Are West Ham podcast, and all of it is because you lot, really, all of you who listen and get stuck in. Yeah, it's the 21st of December now. Hope you don't mind me and Jonesy having a break, but we are absolutely shattered. So from both of us, you will hear the Betway charity bets after this section, but from both me and James, a massive happy Christmas, a happy New Year, happy holidays, whatever you're celebrating and wherever you're celebrating it and whoever you're celebrating it with. We hope you enjoy it. Hope it's happy and healthy. And yeah, that West Ham pick up a few points over the festive period. And of course, as a Christmas present to Jonesy, let's hope we do it playing beautifully, not conceding any goals or not being even a smidge rubbish, and that we win them all 6-0, and it's all really lovely, as well as getting the points that we need. But look, thanks so much for listening this year, everyone. Up the Hammers. West Ham are still massive, and we'll speak to you next year.